You are asleep in your own home, and suddenly you are jolted awake by explosions echoing through the hallway. Smoke fills the air, and before you can process what is happening, strangers in tactical gear burst into your bedroom. They are shouting orders, weapons drawn, and your family is terrified. Your wife is being held at gunpoint, and officers are pulling you out of bed while chaos erupts around you. And then, after the confusion and panic settle, you discover the truth. This raid, this traumatic event that shattered your sense of safety, was not meant for you at all. The Federal Bureau of Investigation stormed the wrong house. When you later bring a lawsuit to hold them accountable, the government argues that you should not be allowed to sue because agents have discretion to plan raids even when they get them dangerously wrong. But you push forward, and the case reaches the United States Supreme Court. In a unanimous 9-0 ruling, the Supreme Court sides with you. Now the case is back before the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, and the outcome has consequences that extend far beyond one family. It affects accountability, government power, and the constitutional protections owed to every American household. The case at the center of this issue is called Martin versus United States. It began in suburban Atlanta, where agents attempted a pre-dawn operation in 2017. Their target was supposed to be alleged gang members, but instead they violently entered the home of Katrina Martin, her boyfriend, and their 7-year-old child. The family had been asleep when the front door was smashed open. Flashbang grenades detonated inside the home. Officers rushed in with rifles pointed in every direction. They pulled Katrina Martin outside while she was only partially dressed. They dragged her boyfriend out while he was still trying to process what was happening. They even pulled their young son from his room while shouting commands. The family had been hiding in a closet with a shotgun because they thought intruders were breaking in. They had no idea that the people invading their home were federal agents who had mistaken their address for someone else's. How did the agents get it so wrong? According to the case record, the lead investigator entered an address into his navigation system, but it routed him to the wrong location. The home they were targeting did not have visible address numbers. They also failed to check the mailbox and claimed they did not have enough time to verify the correct house in the dark. The team had taken photos earlier in the day and believed they could identify the home from exterior details. But when they arrived before sunrise, they relied on those assumptions instead of double-checking the exact address. After the arrest, one of the agents walked through the home, noticed mail with a different address sitting on a coffee table, and realized the mistake. He then told everyone on the team, "We got the wrong house." They quickly left and moved several doors down to raid the correct home. After recovering from the trauma of that morning, Katrina Martin and her family sued the federal government under the Federal Tort Claims Act. This law allows citizens to bring certain lawsuits against the government when employees cause harm while performing their official duties. However, the Federal Tort Claims Act includes several exceptions that protect the government from liability. One of the most significant is called the discretionary function exception. It shields government agencies when the harm results from decisions that involve judgment or planning. The government used this exception to argue that federal agents cannot be sued for mistakes made during the preparation or execution of a raid, even if the raid targeted the wrong home. At the district court level, the judge agreed with the government and dismissed the lawsuit. The family appealed, but the 11th Circuit also sided with the federal government. Those rulings would have ended the case, but the Supreme Court agreed to hear it. After reviewing the issue, the Supreme Court issued a unanimous ruling written by Justice Neil Gorsuch. The court vacated the 11th Circuit's decision and sent the case back for a new review. The Supreme Court held that the 11th Circuit had misinterpreted how various exceptions under the Federal Tort Claims Act interact with each other. The court clarified that the law enforcement proviso modifies only the intentional tort exception, not every other part of the act. This opened the door for the Martin family to continue pursuing accountability. However, the Supreme Court did not resolve the entire case. Instead, it returned the matter to the 11th Circuit and instructed them to reconsider the issues, especially the discretionary function exception, under the proper legal standard. Now, the Department of Justice is urging the 11th Circuit to maintain its original ruling, despite the Supreme Court's decision. The Department of Justice argues that the agent's mistakes were still discretionary decisions, such as how to conduct surveillance in the early morning, how to approach a potentially armed location in darkness, how to identify a home without drawing suspicion, and how to interpret exterior details. They also argue that no law, regulation, or constitutional rule tells the Federal Bureau of Investigation exactly how to plan a raid. Because of that, the government claims agents cannot be sued simply because their planning turned out to be wrong. The case is now scheduled for oral arguments during the week of March 23rd. When the 11th Circuit revisits it, the court must decide how far government immunity extends and whether families have the right to hold federal officers accountable when they invade the wrong home. This decision has broad implications. Wrong house raids, mistaken identity arrests, and excessive force incidents often involve law-abiding citizens, including many gun owners. When these events occur, chaos unfolds rapidly, and homeowners may arm themselves believing intruders are breaking in. That can lead to deadly consequences on both sides. If the government can repeatedly claim immunity by simply saying a mistake arose from discretion, there is no accountability and no incentive to prevent these life-threatening errors. The Supreme Court's ruling in Martin narrows the government's ability to rely on blanket immunity. It reinforces the principle that federal agencies and their employees must operate within legal boundaries and may face consequences when their actions recklessly endanger innocent people. As this case continues, its outcome will shape how future victims of wrong house raids are treated in court, and whether families will have a path to justice when federal agents get it catastrophically wrong. As updates emerge, the legal landscape around federal accountability will become clearer. For now, all eyes are on the 11th Circuit as it prepares to reconsider the case under the Supreme Court's guidance. As always, thank you so much for your support. If you found this breakdown helpful, liking, commenting, or subscribing is one of the best ways to help the channel. And feel free to check out the recommended videos on your screen that YouTube believes you will find useful.